Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and get rolling. This is our recurring Thursday event, the Unicorn Hunt, joined by three incredible entrepreneurs today. Tony Paquin, Trung Pham, and Chris Anthony. I'll introduce their companies here in just 1 minute, but thank you to everyone for hopping in. And we're all really excited to hear about them and some of the innovations that they're bringing to market and some of the companies that they're building. So that is kind of our first intro there. And these are the three individuals themselves. Tony is the co-founder, CEO of iRemedy Healthcare. Chris Anthony, co-founder, co-CEO of Aptera Motors. And then Trung Pham is the founder, CEO of Rise. So super excited to be joined by all three of these guys and excited to hear from them. Super quick, it should be noted that none of what you hear today is investment advice. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. So, always do your due diligence when investing in private companies and early stage companies. But nevertheless, we're very excited to hear from all three of these guys. Tony, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you to get started. The format here is such, we'll go through some pitches. We'll have some questions prepared for them. And then please do use the Q&A function through Zoom to ask any questions to us. We'll be sure to pitch them to the founders here at the end, and they can answer for everybody. We'll also be sharing the campaign pages, so please don't be shy about asking questions on the discussion board. They love to engage with you there as well. So sorry, I introduced you. I'll introduce you again. Tony Paquin with iRemedy. Love to hear from you. Let me give you remote control here of the screen as well. You should be good to roll.
Okay, there we go. Thank you very much, Greg, and good afternoon to everybody who's on the East Coast as well. And hello to everyone else on the West Coast or around the world. Excited to spend a couple of minutes to talk to you about iRemedy Healthcare. As you could imagine, or you may know, we are a technology-driven medical supply healthcare company. I'll get us into that conversation here very quickly. I think we have a super exciting story. We're off to a fast start. Lots of exciting things happening with the company. Yep, there we go. Good. So again, first off, we are an AI-driven technology company. It's kind of funny because with ChatGPT, it seems like everything is AI now, but we started on this process about 3 or 4 years ago, realizing what a problem there was in the medical supply chain. We'll talk a little bit about my partners, but we're software industry people. We've been doing tech deals for many, many years, lots of successful exits. And an IPO, some acquisitions, lots of patents. So we've been around this industry for a long time. Working inside of healthcare, we discovered many years ago what a crisis it was in the medical supply distribution world. We'll talk a little bit of why that is, but it's really turned into a very problematic industry for about the last 10 or 20 years. It's a very large industry. $130 billion is the segment that we target. And then it was such a complex problem. Many years ago, we realized we need to use, at the time, very contemporary technology. We actually invented some AI programming languages, filed some patents, and developed some AI-driven technologies. We can forget the intro about me. We've already kind of covered that, but yeah, I've done an IPO and done some acquisitions, filed some patents, but most importantly today, I just want to mention my CTO, partner and great friend, former Vice President of Technology at Amazon. So Jim Harding is our Chief Technology Officer, obviously a great leader in the world of marketplaces. He's really the guy that helped take the Amazon bookstore and made it an everything store with the reseller marketplace at Amazon. Jim was a good friend and he partnered up with me when we went to solve the big catalog problems that are part of the medical supply industry. Interestingly, by the way, Jim is also a guy that was involved in the development of PC-DOS and sold that off to Bill Gates. He did a couple of tech company startups that he sold to Jeff Bezos. So again, very experienced in the industry and lots of experience with successful exits. So talk a little bit about our market. As I mentioned, it's a $100 billion market. We're focused on the segment that supplies medical supplies for hospitals, government agencies, surgery centers, physician offices, and consumers. Now, the industry has been a mess for a long time. Everybody sort of experienced this a little bit during the pandemic, but really for about the last 40 years, there's been some real problems. First off, it's very expensive. It's just too expensive. That's why healthcare is as costly as it is because the cost of all the drugs, the medical devices, the medical supplies. As I often say, if you take 100 doctors and you put them in a room together and you ask them, what do you pay for a particular item, maybe a scalpel or something like that, you could easily get 100 different answers. It's just an unfair system. Now, in the pandemic, everybody experienced massive, product shortages, right? I mean, from everything from toilet paper to PPE became a topic on the national news every night. But actually, in fact, in healthcare, this problem's been going on for decades. It's just a really difficult situation. We've had shortages with drugs and devices and microchips and yes, lately PPE, but really this has gone on for about 40 years. It was caused by a variety of factors, but a very big part of it was the globalization of healthcare. All the manufacturing of all these things went overseas. Most of it went to China. 90% of all drugs and supplies used by Americans every day are manufactured overseas. So what happened is you got this super complex supply chain, highly regulated products, hundreds of thousands of products, and it's being managed by layer upon layer upon layer of distribution costs on a global level. That's what makes it very, very expensive and lots of shortages and lots of problems on a daily basis. It affects every American, it affects every doctor, it affects every hospital, and certainly the US government. So I talked a little bit about, the supply chain and it's broken. So these three main factors. One, hidden costs. There's just this layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of costs. To get that stuff made in China, pay an exporter, put it on a ship, ship it around the world, pay an importer, pay a distributor, pay a dealer, pay a logistics company, pay a GPO. There's just all these costs. And the global supply chain fails. And all of a sudden, we can't get saline bags, we can't get drugs, we can't get cancer drugs, we get contaminated products, and that all leads to a negative customer experience. So what did we do to work on the problem? Well, first off, as I mentioned, we're tech guys. And so we went to solve the problem. We were working inside of hospitals all around the United States. And we decided to develop a proprietary technology to process and automate and scale the healthcare marketplace. In order to do that, it was all about catalog management. I mean, ultimately, there are millions of products, highly regulated, FDA approved, and so forth. So a very complex problem. So in order to solve that, we invented this technology that effectively turns the internet into a global database. And we're able to then retrieve and optimize and pull data down from all over the world on healthcare products. That allows us to create and maintain what we call the UHMPC, which we really believe ultimately is or will be, or an ongoing basis, think of it as the world's largest, smartest catalog on the internet or in the world for health and wellness products. Our goal is ultimately to have every product. That's why we call it the universal health and medical product catalog. So we're able to do that because of the technology that turned the internet into a database. We now have about 500,000 products and it just grows constantly. So, our technology is out there, constantly extracting data from distributors and dealers and manufacturers and the government here in the United States, but also around the world. And therefore that catalog is constantly growing. Our expectation is we'll be around 1 million products by the end of the year and 2 million products, for example, in 2024. So that's super exciting, just the development of that catalog and the offering that it represents to us. But then the next piece that we did Once we realized, well, gee, we can interact with every web-based data source in the world, well, we also can operate it. And so we developed agents, digital agents, that then maintain this complex catalog and the supply chain on our behalf. So now not only can we build the catalog, but we can maintain the catalog, pricing, availability, and we can process orders from clients and then place those orders with suppliers and track and manage that supply chain and do it all with these digital agents as opposed to using hundreds or thousands of people. It may seem like a standard sort of problem, but in healthcare, it's super complex. Every individual product could have thousands of prices just because of the nature of the way the industry kind of bureaucratically was developed over the last 30 or 40 years. As a result, with our AI technology, we're very scalable. We have automated order management, capture and fulfillment. Let's see here, there we go. Part of what's going on in the world today, right? We have this odd situation. Everybody's talking about a recession and inflation and all these things, but yet it's like a full employment economy. There's essentially a workforce shortage that we've all been dealing with for a long time, and it's especially true in the medical industry. And we're able to address that by using these digital agents. So we're not human resource dependent. We don't have to go hire hundreds of people, to run our business. In fact, remarkably, I'd have to check, but we're operating like a lean, hard startup. We have, in the neighborhood of about 20 people. And that's pretty remarkable when you consider a significant number of them are in our tech department. We have very few people in our operations group. So what makes us different? Well, in our industry, there are some really major companies like McKesson, like Cardinal, like Medline. These companies are old. I mean, McKesson was founded in the Civil War. They're a $200 billion company, but they were founded, 150 years ago. Cardinal Health was founded, over 50 years ago. So these companies, as you can imagine, they're not AI thinkers, they're not disruptors, they're not trying to reinvent the business model. Frankly, they're pretty comfortable with the way the model is. It works for them. And so they're not really motivated to improve products or selection or to innovate or to help new innovations come to the market. That's not really what motivates them. They kind of like the status quo. We, on the other hand, are new, modern, state-of-the-art, tech-driven, that's very focused on disrupting. And then we're here to solve these complex pricing, contracting, and sourcing problems. So the way our system works is, essentially, like any other, you'd think of as e-commerce technology, like Jim invented when he was at Amazon. Yes, we have all of that, right? But what's really unique is if there's a shortage, and in the world of healthcare, there are constantly shortages, unfortunately, our robots, or our bots, if you will, our digital agents, they'll go scan the world forever until they find the product that the customer needs. So we solve this complex global problem. Now, we are a leader working with the US government on the domestication of the manufacturing base for medical supply. So while we're doing all this, because we then have this analyze capability, our goal and our reality is that we want to know more about products and catalog in the healthcare world than anybody else, including the people like the US government and the big distributors, because we want to be an agent for change by having this intelligent catalog and help the government and other manufacturers bring this manufacturing home and do what we call reshoring or onshoring of the medical supply chain. But then once that's done, we have an easy order process and an easy reporting and analytical process to help our clients. And this is particularly our B2B, larger healthcare provider clients, to help them find what they need. So we've already been up and running. We got a tremendous amount of activity. You can see, this is an independent digital, review system. And, we've got over 10,000 five-star reviews. Over 14,000 customers have left us reviews. So we're spinning up very rapidly. Of course, everybody uses medical supplies, right? Both in industry and consumers. So a quick summary is that first off, we believe that the UHMPC, the Universal Health and Medical Product Catalog, is and will be the largest, but very importantly, the smartest product catalog for healthcare products on the internet, but really in the world. And that can be used by our customers, by our partners, by the government, either to help fill out the supply chain, but to improve the supply chain for the benefit of everybody, which ultimately will drive down the cost of healthcare. We have a highly proprietary marketplace technology protected by patents. We filed about 13 or 14 patents. A couple of those have already been issued. So we're in a good IP position. Our executive team has a successful track record of very positive exits with major companies, acquisitions, and then I led a NASDAQ IPO as a CEO once before. We're already, we exceeded 50 million in revenue in 2022. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we have, we're attacking what is roughly a $100 billion market. So we've obviously just scratched the surface and we have a long, long ways to go. So with that, thank you, Greg, for the invitation, the time to be here. Happy to take any questions and, looking forward to the rest of the presentations this afternoon.